One of them walked into a courtroom facing a mandatory life sentence, with no chance of parole, ever. Another one was arrested with a weapon while the entire country thought he was a hero. And the last name on this list, one of the most beloved entertainers on the planet, came within 48 hours of disappearing from the world forever. Today we are counting down 8 global superstars whose criminal pasts were so dangerous, so extreme, that any one of them could have ended their career, their freedom, and their entire life. And the last one on this list, the name will hit you like a freight train. Stay till the end, because nothing prepares you for number 1. If you want real untold stories that mainstream media buries, hit subscribe right now, because on this channel, we are just getting started. Mark Wahlberg, picture this. Boston, April 8, 1988. A 16-year-old boy is walking down the street in Dorchester, one of the roughest neighborhoods in the city. He is not an actor yet. He is not a rapper yet. He is a teenage criminal with a long police record, and tonight, he is about to commit a crime so violent it will define him for decades. Mark Wahlberg, now one of Hollywood's highest-paid stars, attacked a Vietnamese man named Than Lam with a wooden stick, knocking him unconscious. He then attacked a second victim, leaving him permanently blind in one eye. He was charged with attempted murder. At just 16, Wahlberg was tried as an adult. He pleaded guilty to criminal assault and was sentenced to 2 years at Deer Island House of Correction. He served 45 days. In 2014, he publicly applied for a formal pardon, which Massachusetts denied. The victim he blinded never regained his sight. The world sees a charming Hollywood star. The victim sees someone who took his vision at age 28 and never gave it back. But Mark Wahlberg's story is extreme. Number 7 story. That one almost ended in an electric chair. Number 7, Johnny Cash, June 1965. El Paso, Texas. A man walks off a plane from Juarez, Mexico. He is one of the most famous musicians in America. Hidden in his guitar case, 668 pills, amphetamines and tranquilizers smuggled across the US-Mexico border. That man was Johnny Cash, the man in black. By 1965, Cash had sold millions of records and was a household name across the entire world. And yet he had been arrested 7 times in the span of a single decade. Drug possession, public intoxication, trespassing on private property in the middle of the night. In Starkville, Mississippi in 1965, he was arrested simply for picking flowers in someone's yard at 2 a.m. The El Paso bust was the one that nearly broke him. Customs agents searched his guitar case and found the pills stuffed inside the lining. He was arrested, charged with drug smuggling, and faced serious federal prison time. He spent a single night in El Paso jail before posting bail. Cash later wrote about that night in his 1997 autobiography, saying the jail cell forced him to face what he had become. He got on his knees on that concrete floor and prayed. Within a year, he had pulled himself back, and in February 1968, he recorded the most iconic live album in country music history, at Folsom Prison, performed for real inmates, in a real prison, because he understood what being behind bars felt like. But Cash survived his demons. Number 6 almost didn't survive his own lawyer. The next 3 names are people you watch, listen to, and admire right now, and what they hid from the world will completely change how you see them. Do not go anywhere. If you are shocked so far, drop a comment right now and tell me which story hit you the hardest. I personally read every single one. Number 6, Mike Tyson, February 10th, 1992. Indianapolis, Indiana. The most feared man on the planet, a boxer who had held the undisputed world heavyweight title at just 20 years old, sat in a courtroom and heard a jury read out a verdict, guilty. Mike Tyson was convicted of rape and 2 counts of criminal deviant conduct. The victim was 18-year-old Desiree Washington, a contestant in the Miss Black America pageant. Tyson was sentenced to 6 years in the Indiana Youth Center. He served 3 years before being paroled in March 1995. He walked back into the world with no money. He had earned over $300 million during his career and lost nearly all of it. He climbed back into a ring and kept fighting. But the conviction never left him. In a 2019 interview, he said, "I was a totally different person back then. I was a monster." Can you imagine carrying that for the rest of your life? Tyson lost everything and rebuilt. Number 5 lost everything and never recovered. Number 5, O.JSimpson, June 17, 1994. 6:45 p.m. 95 million Americans stopped what they were doing to watch a white Ford Bronco drive slowly down the 405 freeway in Los Angeles. Inside was O.J.Simpson, two-time NFL rushing champion, Heisman Trophy winner, and star of the Naked Gun films, holding a gun to his own head. 2 days earlier, his ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman had been found stabbed to death outside her Brentwood condo. The trial that followed, the People v. O.J. Simpson, became the most watched legal proceeding in television history. On October 3, 1995, after 9 months of testimony, Simpson was found not guilty. He was later found liable in a civil trial and ordered to pay $33.5 million in damages, an amount he never fully paid. In 2007, he was arrested in Las Vegas for armed robbery and kidnapping and sentenced to 33 years in Nevada State Prison. He was released on parole in October 2017, having served 9 years. The public never stopped watching him, because they never stopped wondering what really happened that night in Brentwood. Simpson's story divided the world. Number 4's story united the world in disbelief. Number 4. Robert Downey Jr. November 25, 1996. Malibu, California. A neighbor calls the police to report a strange man asleep in their child's bed. When officers arrive, they find Robert Downey Jr., one of the most acclaimed young actors in Hollywood, passed out and completely incoherent. He had wandered into the wrong house in a drug-induced haze. It was the beginning of a spiral that lasted almost a decade. Between 1996 and 2001, Downey was arrested multiple times for drug possession, violation of probation, and trespassing. In August 1996, he was found in possession of heroin, cocaine, and an unloaded .357 Magnum. He was sentenced to 3 years of probation and drug treatment. He violated it repeatedly. In August 1999, a judge finally ran out of patience and sent him to the California Substance Abuse Treatment Facility in Corcoran for a year. He served 12 months. In April 2001, he was arrested again for being under the influence in a hotel room in Palm Springs. That was his last arrest. In 2008, Marvel Studios took a massive gamble and cast him as Tony Stark in Iron Man. The film earned $585 million worldwide. He went on to earn an estimated $50 million for Avengers Endgame alone. Downey rebuilt himself into the highest-paid actor in the world. Number 3 rebuilt himself from something far darker. Number 3. David Bowie, March 1976. Rochester, New York. David Bowie is backstage after a concert. He is in the middle of his station-to-station tour, the most musically groundbreaking period of his career. He has not slept properly in weeks. He later admitted he was consuming so much cocaine during this period that he cannot remember recording the entire station-to-station album. That night, Rochester police raided his hotel suite and arrested him along with Iggy Pop and 2 others. They found a significant quantity of marijuana. Bowie was charged with felony possession, a charge that in New York in 1976 carried potential prison time of up to 15 years. His lawyers argued the case for months. The charges were eventually dropped, but the arrest shook him deeply. He immediately relocated to Berlin, a city he described in interviews as the only place that could save his life. In Berlin, he made Heroes, Low, and Lodger, 3 albums now considered among the greatest in rock history. The arrest that almost destroyed him sent him to a city that made him immortal. Bowie fled to survive. Number 2 stayed and paid for it with everything. Number 2, Tupac Shakur, February 14, 1995, Valentine's Day. A man sits in a prison cell on Rikers Island, New York. He is one of the most important voices in American music. He has already been shot 5 times in the lobby of a Manhattan recording studio just 3 months earlier. Now he is behind bars, convicted of sexual assault. Tupac Shakur was convicted on November 29, 1994 of first-degree sexual abuse and sentenced to 1.5 to 4.5 years in prison. He served 8 months at the Clinton Correctional Facility in Dannemora, New York, before Death Row Records CEO Suge Knight paid his $1.4 million bail and had him released on the condition he signed with the label. The albums he released after prison, Me Against the World and All Eyes on Me, both debuted at number 1 and are now certified multi-platinum. On September 7, 1996, he was shot 4 times in Las Vegas. He died 6 days later at age 25. He never saw freedom truly again. The streets took him before the courts could give him justice or take it away. And yet, even Tupac's story does not compare to number 1. Because number 1 was counting down the seconds to life in prison, with no way out. Number 1, Tim Allen, October 2, 1978. Kalamazoo Battle Creek International Airport, Michigan. A 25-year-old man named Timothy Allen Dick is walking through the terminal. He works in advertising. He has agreed to help a friend deliver cocaine to a buyer. The buyer is an undercover federal narcotics agent. When officers stop him, they find 1.43 pounds of cocaine, 650 grams, in his possession. Under Michigan state law at the time, possession of more than 650 grams of cocaine carried 1 sentence: mandatory life in prison, no parole, no exceptions, no negotiation. Timothy Allen Dick, who the world now knows as Tim Allen, was staring at the rest of his life behind bars. At 25 years old, facing that reality, Allen made the only decision he could. He cooperated with federal prosecutors. He named other dealers in his supply chain, Because he agreed to testify, his charge was reduced from the state charge, which meant life, to a federal charge. He was sentenced to 3 to 7 years and served 2 years and 4 months at the Federal Correctional Institution in Sandstone, Minnesota. He was released on parole on June 12, 1981. During his time inside, he had begun performing stand-up comedy for other inmates. By 1991, his sitcom Home Improvement was the #1 show in America. By 1995, he was the voice of Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story, one of the most beloved animated characters in history. From a life sentence to the voice of a hero who tells children, to infinity and beyond, can you imagine? From a teenager who blinded a man on a Boston street to the voice inside a billion childhoods. From a guitar case filled with smuggled pills to the most iconic live album in country music history. From a courtroom verdict that shocked an entire planet to the most celebrated comeback in Hollywood. These are not just criminal records. These are human beings who fell, and some of them rose higher than anyone believed possible, and some of them never got back up at all. Which one shocked you the most? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. If this video hit you, like it and share it with someone who thinks they know everything about Hollywood. And our next video, we are going even deeper. The hidden scandals that the studios paid millions to erase from history. That one will leave you absolutely speechless.